Hi students. So today's lesson is going to be words and phrases that help you give instructions. So we'll just be going over some words and phrases today. The first word that we're going to talk about is the word sequence. So sequence is step-by-step instructions, or the order that something happens. It means that one thing comes after another. Um, and the reason we use this is because we use sequences, right, plural sequences, to give instructions, right? So first, we're going to talk about first, second, third, what those all mean when we give instructions and why we use them. So when giving instructions, we give them in a sequence, right? And to do that in English, we number them. So we'll say the first step, meaning number one, the number one thing you do is I'll give instructions on how to open a door. First, you grab the doorknob. Second, you turn the doorknob. Third, you push the door open or pull the door open. So first, second, this little ETC with the little dot, that means etc. And we use that word in English to mean like everything else, everything that comes after that, right? Because I could say first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, and you can just keep on going. You can just do it for all of the numbers that there are that exist. Um, but I just wanted to show you 10, right? So first means one, second means two, third means three, fourth means four, fifth means five, sixth means six, seventh means seven, eighth means eight, ninth means the number, I'll do this, nine, and 10th is 10. So you'll notice that a lot of these is just saying the number, right? Six, and then putting a th at the end, right? A th. Seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. So when we give instructions, we give them in a sequence. So we use words like this. First, you do this. Second, you do this. Um, Now, the next one I want to talk about is sometimes you probably have heard or seen this a lot, but when you're giving instructions, you can also say firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly. You add this ly at the end. So what is the difference between firstly, the word firstly, and the word first? So adding an ly to the end of an adjective or a word that describes, a person, a place, or a thing, it changes the word to an adverb, which is a word that describes an action, right? Um, so I'll give you an example. So the word calm, right? It means to be peaceful, relaxed. So if somebody said, um, they were talking about a friend and they said, oh, she is calm. Calm is describing the person, she. But if somebody said walk calmly, they put an ly at the end, they're describing the action, the verb walk calmly. So that's what the difference is between an adjective and an adverb, and that's what this ly does to words most of the time in English, is it is changing a adjective to an adverb. Now you may be thinking, teacher, is there a difference between saying firstly and secondly when I'm giving directions? No, there is no difference. Um, you can say first, you could say firstly, first grab the doorknob, firstly grab the doorknob. It doesn't matter. You can say first or firstly, there is no difference. So I would recommend using just saying first, second, third, because you don't have to worry about adding this ly. But if it's something that you already do, then go ahead and still do it. That's fine too. So it's up to you whether you want to say first, second, or firstly, secondly, thirdly. It's up to you. All right, now the word next. I have a little picture up there because every time I hear the word next, I think of the Ariana Grande song. Thank you, next, that song. So next is just something that happens immediately after another action or another event, right? So we use next when we talk about sequences because that's what a sequence is. It's something happening immediately after another. Um, so I have an example when how to use it in instructions. So this is like me telling you how to open a bag of popcorn. So open the cellophane, that's the clear plastic, around the popcorn bag. Next, unfold the bag and put it in the microwave. So when we give our directions that way, we want to make sure we're saying, okay, you got to do this first, then you do this. Then you do this. Next, you do this. It means you're going from this thing that you're doing to the next thing that you're doing, to the next thing that you're doing. So that's why we use next. So open the cellophane around the popcorn bag. Next, unfold the bag and put it in the microwave. So it's helping to describe the sequence, which is what we do when we give directions. All right, now, finally, sometimes you'll hear this in directions. Finally, lastly, both mean the last step of a sequence. And it's kind of like when we use first or second. You could say the final step, but instead of saying final step, you could just say finally do this. Lastly, do this. Finally, put the buckets in the closet. Lastly, put the buckets in the closet. The last step is to put the buckets in the closet. It all means the same thing. Finally, lastly, last. It's a little bit different if you don't put an ly on the end, right? When you're putting it in a sentence, just because, like I said, when you add the ly, it changes what kind of word it is in English. So it can't always go in the same order. But if you're trying to think, oh, do I say finally or do I say lastly? Doesn't matter. Both mean the same thing. You can pick which one you want to use. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about is the word then. Use this all the time. I know you guys know this word. So it's an event or action that happens after another, right? Kind of like the word next, it happens after another. But so it's similar to the word next. But what I want to point out is I want you to remember that then with the E and than with an A are different. So sometimes we don't hear the difference when people are talking, but you need to make sure you use the right one when you're writing directions. Then TE, or this is like a trick to help me remember it when I'm writing. Then with an E, THEN, is always about time, right? It's about doing something and then another thing, right? It's talking about sequence, it's talking about timing. You do this first, then you do this. We were walking, then it started raining. It's talking about the order of events, it's talking about time, right? But if you use the word than with an ATHAN, it is about comparing things. So you would say, I like soda more than coffee. I like the color blue more than the color green. So than is comparing two things with an A. So think A, two things comparing. Then is sequence, it's time. So I just wanted to point that out. So the next word we're going to talk about is clear. Now, we can use the word clear to describe things, right? Like glass is clear. But we can also use that to talk about instructions, about ideas. When you say that something is clear, but you're talking about an idea or instructions or something that somebody said, it's not a thing, right? It's something that you can't physically touch, right? It's not like clear glass or a uh, a clear wall, right? It's an idea. You can't actually like see it. But when we talk about it, ideas that way, it's the same thing. It's something that you are not confused about. So when something's clear, it means having no confusion or doubt, or that it's easy to understand. So if I said, are the instructions clear to you? That means, do you understand? Are the instructions, are they not confusing? Are they easy to understand? Do you get it? Right? That's another thing that we say in English is, do you get it? Um, Meaning, do you get the idea? Do you understand the idea? The next word that we're going to use is make sense. This one is said all the time. I think it's said more than when people say clear, just because you can use clear and it can be kind of rude sometimes, or it can be very firm and kind of like a command. But when we say make sense, it's a little bit more casual, right? So when we say make sense, it's something that people can understand. When we make sense of something, it means that we understand it. Um, so the other thing about make sense that you need to remember is that we can use it as a verb, right? Because make is a verb. So you can use, the three different ways you have learned, right, in English to use verb tenses: simple present, present progressive or present continuous, and past tense, right? And so you could say, do my instructions make sense? Simple present tense. Are the instructions making sense? Simple progressive. Are the instructions made sense? So past tense. So when you're doing instructions, when you're talking to people on how to do something, um, if you're talking to them in the moment using make sense or making sense, it doesn't matter. People will understand what you're talking about. The only thing you have to remember is how you make simple present sentence, verb tense sentences, and present progressive or present continuous sentences, right? Because you could say, do my instructions make sense? But you could not say, do my instructions making sense? That's incorrect. You have to say, are the instructions making sense? Because remember, we have to have the word are or am or is, um, depending on, are we talking about me, I, what pronoun are we using? Who is our subject? And then the instructions made sense. That's the one that's going to let somebody know that, yeah, I understood, right? In the past. In the past, I understand, but it's in the past. So we say, I understood. The instructions made sense instead of saying the instructions make sense. But you could say, the instructions make sense, and that would make it simple present. The instructions made sense. That would mean I did it in the past and it made sense in the past. So I already did it, type of thing. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is these phrases: once this is done, when this is done, when this is complete. This is the other thing that you can do is you can use, once this is done, when this is done, when this is complete, when this is finished, when you're giving instructions. So you use it to let someone know that one step needs to be finished before doing the next step. So that's the big part about this phrase is if you say, when this is complete, when this is done, right? Done is it's the same word as do or did. It's just the special past tense verb, the past participle. So done and did are the same thing. It's just a different form of the word that we use in English grammar, but it just means the same thing. It's past tense, right? It's just a special past tense verb. So when this is complete, when this is finished, notice that I'm using, when this is complete, when this is finished, when this is done, once this is done. You use it to make sure when you're giving directions that the person knows, okay, I have to have this part done, I have to have this part complete, I have to have this part finished before I move on to the next step in the instructions. So that's the only thing that it really is just some phrases to help you say that. And if somebody says, or if you want to say to begin or to start, it just means the first step in a sequence. It's you can use this phrase to begin or to start instead of saying first. So instead of saying first, you grab the doorknob. You could say to begin, you grab the doorknob, or you could say to start, you grab the doorknob. So this is just a phrase that you can use instead of saying first all the time when you're giving instructions. To begin, do this. To start, do this. Right. So that's it for today. I think that was the last. Yep, that was the last phrase and word that I wanted to show you. And tomorrow I'll give you some more practice with it. And don't forget, if you have not done it, to fill out the worksheet that I sent on Tuesday. You should just be able to click on it and fill it out. If you have any problems doing that, just text me and let me know.